Hi everyone, my name's Yvonne Britton. We're back again with a follow-up interview and we're very lucky to have with us Ameet Aggarwal with us today. Ameet is a naturopath doctor who is living in Kenya but studied in Canada. So welcome Ameet, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Yvonne. Greetings from Kenya.
Nice to see you again. So what I thought we could, if you don't mind Ameet, just sharing a little bit about what you do. Again, just for anyone who might have missed the first interview. And then what I'd really love to hear is a little bit about your own personal story.
Okay. Hey, everyone. So I'm a naturopathic doctor and a psychotherapist practicing in Kenya. And I went through naturopathic school in Canada, where I also joined a psychotherapy school. Even though I wasn't into emotional healing, I don't know what hit me when I hit that school. It transformed my life because for the first time, somebody touched upon my emotions, and I had no idea what a profound effect it would have on my personal healing, my personal journey, as well as also on my physical health issues, actually, Yvonne. So by combining naturopathic medicine, so that's healing the gut, the liver, inflammation, etc., and also going through psychotherapy school where they healed my childhood traumas and helped me change my belief systems, which we'll talk about. A lot of things improved in my life. And I combine the two with my patients nowadays. I always combine naturopathic medicine and psychotherapy to ensure people heal both their emotions as well as their physical body.
Yeah, and that's actually from the feedback we got from the survey that we sent out after the summit. We did get quite a lot of feedback that people were, still having emotional issues that they thought were tied into their health issues as well. So what took you to that point? How did you get there? And what's a little bit about your own personal story?
Okay. Well, I was exhausted. I was finished. I grew up in boarding school. So I had a lot of abandonment issues, and I was the smallest kid in the school, so obviously bullied a lot. And then after boarding school, I went off. Well, in local schools here in Kenya, also we were beaten every day with a stick on our hand, like a caning was legal. So there was a lot of trauma from that as well, fear of authority. So I developed a certain complex about myself and a sense of weakness, yeah, and feeling not good enough. And then, of course, in Canada, joined high school, and there was a lot of how do I call it, social struggles, trying to fit in,
Yeah.
and trying to catch up with people. Then I did a lot of drugs there as well, almost every single drug you can imagine, actually. So that combined with emotional stress from university and things like that, I was quite anxious and I was quite depressed as well. I'd gone through a lot of breakups also in my life, well, a couple of breakups, which reinforced the abandonment issues from childhood. Yeah, and why I'm saying that on purpose for the listeners is to understand that some things that happen in adult life can trigger an emotional response that stems from childhood.
Yeah.
So all these things left me quite burnt out, quite exhausted and unhappy. And before naturopathic college, I was actually working in the Silicon Valley in the computer industry. So my diet was basically nachos and chips and Coke and stuff like that. I had no idea about health. And so I didn't know what was making me miserable. And then luckily enough, I returned home to Kenya and volunteered with a naturopathic doctor. We were doing mobile clinics in the north for poor communities. And there I found out about naturopathic medicine. And I went straight back to Canada to join the school there, an amazing school. And I learned how to heal my gut, my liver, change my diet and things like that. So things improved quite a bit. And then I went for my first homeopathic intake, my first homeopathic remedy. And it was a blessing. It was really a blessing because I'd done a lot of LSD and different drugs. And the remedy I got was actually a homeopathic remedy that helped me detox from a lot of drug influence. And it cleared my mind so much. And then combining the homeopathy, the healing the gut, and then going through psychotherapy healing, my life was transformed. I healed all those breakup traumas, the childhood traumas, belief systems, fear of authority, weakness, confidence issues. Everything just escalated for me. I was afraid of even speaking in front of a class. And now I teach around the world, and I love teaching. I love holding the space for people's emotional healing as well. So it really transformed my life.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what age were you then? How old were you?
Oof. Time is a bit of an illusion for me, but I try not to believe in age because of the common consciousness that we associate with certain numbers.
But you were young, no? You went through this when you were young?
Yeah, so well, boarding school I was like 7 years old, and then
Wow.
again 11 years old, went off to another boarding school. So a lot of caning when below 10 years old, and it was madness. It was crazy. So a lot of childhood trauma, which we're finding out, and studies are showing that childhood trauma actually contributes a lot to adult anxiety. And there's things we can do to heal these traumas from the past. Yeah. And in my online course, I help people heal emotional trauma from the past, as well as heal their gut, liver, and adrenal glands, which are often burnt out because of chronic anxiety and depression.
And how does that, what does it entail when you start to look at, or, you obviously did, you studied to be a psychotherapist, and it probably took you years to go through your studies.
Yeah.
Does it take years for people to overcome these things? Like when you work with people or they do your course, like what does it look like?
Okay, well, the good thing is, it's weird to say, but the good thing is I went through a lot of crap, right? So I kind of understand what it needs to, what it takes to heal. It can take people, for some, it totally depends on their condition, yeah, and what they've been through. I mean, some people in a week's time, they're happy. I had victims of terrorist attacks, right? And they saw a lot of bombing and things like that. But because it was an acute exposure and not long-term exposure, the recovery was quite fast because I combined psychotherapy with homeopathic shock remedies for experiencing shock and trauma, and they heal very fast. There's other people who have been through a lot of sexual abuse or just verbal abuse or physical abuse, violence from their family members, from extended family, from step-parents, etc. And that can take even up to 3 months. And 3 months is not a long time for people to heal, though, right? Because it's better than doing nothing. I mean, considering that they've been through 20 years in pain, emotional pain, and sabotaging behaviors based on beliefs that they borrowed from their abusive parents or step-parents or relatives, 3 months is a relatively short time to find significant relief. I'm not saying there's a complete cure in 3 months, but within 3 months and even less, we see significant improvement in mood, which is a gift for people suffering from darkness and depression, and just, when that dark cloud comes over and you don't see a way out, and the relief, the value of relief, emotional relief that comes from that dark place, it's life. For me, it was life-changing. For me, it stopped me from spiraling into suicidal thoughts and just a very dark place.
Yeah. And for someone, for example, who's in that right now, I know a lot of people are now on prescription drugs for anxiety and depression. Is that, would you envisage that somebody could eventually come off these, or is it, is that very gradual? Because some people seem to have been on them for a very long time as well.
Yeah. So in my practice, and in the online course, actually, I teach people how to taper off medicines, of course, under supervision with their doctor, but it definitely is possible. I don't encourage people to come off their medications right away, because there are side effects of just removing the medicines. Yeah, there's withdrawal effects. And it's very important for people to realize, the unfortunate thing is some people are told when they're having withdrawal effects that their problem is not over and they still need to continue the medication. So they're fearful of stopping medicines. But in my practice, I've taken a lot of people off medicines gradually. Mm-hmm. What I do is I support the physiology first. So by reducing inflammation, healing the gut, the diet, and adrenal fatigue, and releasing trauma at the same time using the emotional release techniques I show you in the online course, as well as homeopathic remedies, which I describe also for shock and trauma, then the underlying pathology, the underlying sickness is not so strong in the person. So it's safer for them to reduce their medicine slowly by slowly.
Okay.
And they might reduce it by, half the dose or something for a full week. And then the next week they can try reducing slightly more. Yeah. Always under supervision of their prescribing doctor. That's really important, just in case there's a relapse or anything like that. Yeah. But it definitely is possible. And patients can even show the method to their doctor and say, okay, can we do this together?
Okay.
Yeah. Or find a supportive psychiatrist. And it works. It really works. Because, brain chemicals are usually an imbalance of amino acids or too much inflammation in the body or too much toxicity combined with unresolved trauma. But if you're working on your trauma and you're healing your gut, then it's much easier for you to come off medication.
And do you always need to know what the underlying issue is? Like, it might be something specific like a terrorist attack, but if you go back to your childhood and, it could have been ideal or not ideal, and is it always necessary to pinpoint what the issue is? Or because or maybe there's so many issues that you can't really choose the one. Like when you go through your program, for example, do you need to know what the thing is, or are you encouraged to find it, the source?
Okay, so good question. So in my online course, I encourage the listeners to basically do a timeline chart from birth till present, and they write down certain things that they have in their life. And then I give you exercises to deal with each one of those issues. Yeah, and by doing those exercises on different issues, the brain rewires itself and the person gets healthy and overcomes a lot of things in their life. And so automatically, after doing these exercises, they feel more emotionally resilient. So yes, sometimes it's revealed that this was the definite issue that caused my depression or anxiety. But for some people, there's so many layers of trauma and experiences that doing this exercise on various issues actually helps them more because it covers a wide range of experiences. For example, for me, going through boarding school, I was bullied as well as manipulated by an aggressive teacher. Right? I felt unsupported and abandoned by my mother and father and parents, etc. So which one of those was creating trauma and lack of confidence? I don't know exactly. And I've noticed that by using these exercises on those various experiences, suddenly I feel less weak. I feel more able to sustain myself or support myself. I feel more confident. Yeah. And I feel so much more relaxed in my body that that underlying anxiety and tension has disappeared because I've dealt with a number of things in an easy way though. So yes, it is helpful to know which exact trauma contributes to your anxiety and depression. At the same time, when you deal with multiple traumas, you get significant healing. So it doesn't really matter if you know exactly which event belongs to which emotion in your life.
Okay.
The idea is to get better, feel more confident and at ease in your mind. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is it a painful process to go through? Is it emotionally, are you reprocessing? Can you expect to have outbursts of anger or, whatever the original emotion was?
So I make it really safe for people, and I encourage them to do it with a therapist if there's very strong events that they need to deal with. One of the exercises in the online course is just understanding how to sit with the emotion, visit the memory, understand how to use taste, smell, sound, the other senses to get in touch with these emotions. And in my practice, my clinical practice, I gently, how do I say it? I make it very safe. I touch upon the present moment feeling. And I might say to someone, you seem very lost right now or confused. What's that about? And they might say, I feel unsupported. I'll say, gosh, stay with that feeling, the grief, the sadness of the lack of support. And what comes up now? When I acknowledge their lack of support with them, then they suddenly feel supported or comfortable in the room, and then we can go deeper. So I make it very safe on each step of the way. And I've designed the exercise in the online course as well to just go layer by layer, yeah? So you don't traumatize yourself. And if there's very difficult memories, then definitely do it with a therapist. Take those exercises to your therapist and say, let's try these together, please.
Okay. And just thinking, if someone was doing the online course by themselves and they don't have the possibility to have a therapist, what kind of discipline is required to do an online course by yourself and to take yourself through that course? Because I know, probably from personal experience, where you can have resistance and you would say, oh, this is perfect, this is exactly what I need, and then you buy the course and then you're not doing it, which is probably part of the original issue, but you're not going through the issues. So.
Yeah. So I've made it easier for people to do the course because I've broken down the emotional healing exercise in a separate category and the physical healing in a separate category, in separate videos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you want to learn about your body and amino acids and homeopathic remedies, etc., you can watch one category. And it's not one big video, it's little chunks of video. So you can watch like 5 minutes.
Okay.
And you're done. And there's another video for maybe 20 minutes and you're done.
Okay.
And then the emotional healing exercises are in a completely different category. So you can watch one of them and do that for like 7 days while you're fixing your diet.
Okay.
And if you want to go to the next therapy, then you go on that. And as you feel the healing, you'll want to do more and more of these therapies, right?
Okay, yeah.
Because you're feeling better and you're like, gosh, okay, there's more to this. Yeah. Why not get better? And you're right, I totally understand the lack of motivation to continue a course. And what I want to encourage you listeners with is that I've been through anxiety, I've been through depression, I had suicidal thoughts, I thought of throwing myself in front of a train once. And so I've done all the therapies out there, and I've done naturopathic college and psychotherapy. And so I understand how to heal the gut. I'm not promoting myself here. I'm really telling you that all the information that one can possibly think of is almost all in the course. Do you know what I mean? So if you're desperate for help, do the course, because everything I know, everything I use with my patients, everything is in there. Everything that helped me. Because there's so many therapies out there, Yvonne. I went to so many therapists, and some were good, some were just like, I don't know, just take my money, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, predicting things and not really helping me. Yeah. And then, of course, there's herbs like St. John's wort or chamomilla, things to calm you down or help depression, but they didn't treat the root cause.
Yeah.
They temporarily fixed some of the pain, which is good, which is important. But when I figured out how to treat the root cause and say, oh my God, it's so simple, reduce inflammation, heal the adrenal system, detoxify the liver, and release these emotions in these ways, I was like, oh my God, I have to share this.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I actually teach this at a school in Italy now, and they're so happy with it because I'm teaching naturopathic students and basically volunteering doctors how to treat the root cause of a very, very complicated and yet simple emotional problem.
And with I'm just thinking, like, people who are struggling in relationships, whether it's codependency or you're looking to someone else to kind of like make you feel whole instead of making yourself feel whole. Does it apply to situations like that also?
Not specifically. And when people do the emotional healing exercises and release issues from their past, then the tendency towards codependency reduces, from what I've seen. Yeah. So because I feel more emotionally resilient, because I've gained my confidence back, I don't need somebody else to fill that gap inside of me. I don't need to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stick onto someone and latch onto someone, and the fear of abandonment or maybe the breakup pain from a previous relationship you can heal using these exercises. So the new relationship you have, you're not so fearful of intimacy.
Yeah. And do you have like, what kind of examples could you share of people that have maybe worked with you or going through your course? Like, what kind of transformations have you seen? Have they all, have you seen any similar to your own, like as powerful as your own?
Yeah, like I'm just thinking, it just makes me warm inside. So I had one patient who was doing a lot of work in Somalia, and they just saw a lot of terrible, terrible things, yeah? And they were completely burnt out. And she was actually a doctor, a medical doctor, and had no idea why she was getting suicidal thoughts and things like that. And using this method of really, releasing the trauma, the memories, and then also supporting the adrenal system and healing the gut, her life transformed. The suicidal thoughts just really stopped. Yeah. And so from a downward spiral, how I measure is, do you have an upward trend now? Like, are you feeling happier? You're less depressive. So one is that the pain stops or reduces, which is a very good place. And that leaves room, now opens the room for more positive thinking and feelings of happiness returning slowly. And the importance of that story is to understand that even though we released the emotional trauma from what she saw in her work, she was burnt out because of the chronic stress. So healing emotional trauma was not enough.
Okay.
Yeah. Building up the adrenal system was also important. And also improving her diet reduced the adrenal stress. And I show you how all that works in the course, yeah? Why diet actually causes adrenal stress as well as stress and trauma causing adrenal stress. There's a lot of terrorist attack people I treated. That was really touching. It was very intense. They saw a lot of horrible, horrible things. And the homeopathic remedies I chose, which I describe in the course, are very effective for stress and trauma, for traumatic experiences and shock. Who else can I think of? I have a lot of people with hormonal issues, Yvonne.
Oh, yeah.
And hormonal issues, PMS, can cause a lot of anxiety and depression. Well, it's all interconnected, yeah? Because you see, inflammation actually harms the liver, and the liver is the master control of hormones. And so when you have liver imbalance, then you get hormonal imbalance, which contributes to anxiety and depression. And so by healing the gut and reducing inflammation and detoxifying the liver, you actually improve hormonal health. And when hormonal health improves, of course, you're going to get less PMS symptoms. And so the mood improves, relationships improve. So I have a lot of people telling me, they're less angry with their partners, for example. Their relationships are improving.
And they don't have this roller coaster in the month, like at the, certain time of the month, you're like nice and calm, and other times like you're ready to kill your partner.
Exactly. And I've had some people with addictions. My course is not for addictions.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, though, I've had people with addictions come in to see me, and by healing the pain from their past and also balancing the neurotransmitters, their cravings reduce.
Would that work for smoking as well?
I haven't tried this course for smoking. With smoking, the frequency of smoking definitely reduces, but I haven't kicked in addiction with the online course.
Okay.
There's other methods for smoking that I'll leave to the experts on smoking.
Yeah.
But I definitely know my patients, they do smoke less. Their cravings reduce because they're feeling emotionally better and their neurotransmitters are definitely more in balance. Because smoking, you see, there's a craving for dopamine. Nicotine helps make dopamine. And so with adrenal fatigue also and anxiety, those are triggers for people to smoke more, to calm themselves down. And so if you have less triggers going on in your mind, then your tendency for reaching out a cigarette, unless it's just habitual smoking, your tendency reduces.
And is that would the same apply to alcohol? Is that
It's similar. It's similar. With alcohol addiction, it's very difficult. I encourage my patients to go to AA as
Mm-hmm.
well, and use other methods like acupuncture and physical therapies if that is available in your area. There's addiction protocol that I'm trained in and many people use. It's called NADA, N-A-D-A. I've forgotten what it stands for, and they do needles in the ear.
Okay.
And that helps a lot. And they use that in detox centers as well worldwide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And, you know, even when you're changing the diet and healing the gut and all that, it's important to also go for physical therapies. You know, touch is very important, or even acupuncture. Things
Mm-hmm.
that just help detoxify your body or move the energy around. You get amazing results when you combine physical therapies with anything I'm talking about today.
Mm-hmm. And what's your life like now? Do you have to do something to maintain your stability, or what does your life look like now?
Okay. Well, I'm definitely happier and more confident. I'm teaching in different places. And at the same time, I do need to exercise. I love to exercise just to keep me healthy and happy. I know if I don't exercise, I get depressed easily. Well, not depressed, but low in mood.
Mm-hmm.
Once in a while, if I'm disturbed by something or somebody, I will do some tapping techniques or emotional release techniques. I'll sit with the feeling, the pain, and understand what is it triggering in me, you know. So I've learned, instead of blaming the person, am I feeling unsupported or insecure or threatened, you know, and what's that about?
Mm-hmm.
I'll do a lot of self-examination and self-awareness work, and through that then I become less stressed with the energy of the trauma or the disturbing event. Yeah.
That's such
So
a good point, actually, when you are being triggered to stop and swap it around and say why, what's it triggering in me.
yeah,
It's very powerful.
it's very important. And then I encourage people to also sit with the emotion. So sit with the physical sensation. Yeah. So what am I feeling now? Where is it happening? What thoughts am I having and what feelings are coming up? And rather than feeling shame about feeling fear, anger, a lot of people feel shame about the feelings they're having. It's like, oh, I shouldn't feel this way.
Yeah,
No,
shame and resistance, yeah.
those are so normal. You're a human being. You're designed to feel those things. It's now when you allow yourself to feel those things and then you do the tapping techniques or the emotional release techniques, you're more likely to heal them rather than by resisting them or negating them. They're not negative things. They're actually very valuable signals to help you understand what's vulnerable inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
Support your vulnerability, love your vulnerability. Don't shy away from it. It's not a bad thing. I promise you that. And that's the biggest thing I've learned is love your vulnerability, because it's the most precious part of you. It's the child in you, right? Asking for help, needing love.
And so you have your emotion, you sit with your emotion, and it's how vulnerable you are, and it's your the child you have inside. How do you know when that's processed and it's time to let go and you're not holding on to that emotion of whatever's happened and replaying it in your mind?
Mm-hmm.
What's the point where you kind of like process it and then let go? Because I think the letting go of that emotion sometimes is the hard part, no?
It is. So that's a good question. And I don't know if it's ever completely over for certain strong emotions, and other ones that are simple to deal with, you'll feel it immediately. You feel like, okay, I feel less disturbed by this in my body energetically or even in my mind. I don't need to think about it as much, and it doesn't disturb me so much. So
you
then it's
might
okay
notice like a deep breath or something when, like an
yeah,
exhale.
a deep breath, a sigh of relief,
Yeah.
physical sensation of just less tension in my body. Even a smile coming to my face and saying, oh, okay, you know what? I don't need to worry about that so much anymore. It's like, right? And sometimes even a perspective shift. That often happens with these emotional release techniques is a perception change and saying, oh, okay, I'm not there anymore, or I'm not a child anymore, or I get it. They were more in fear than I was actually.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives me so much relief. And it's like I can step away from the situation feeling secure.
Okay.
And when that feeling comes in my body, I'm like, okay, you know what? It translates into other parts of my life then as well. I'm not walking around with so much fear anymore, because I get that was about the past, and I really feel secure all of a sudden. And then I can talk to people differently. I can feel more confident with my adult life.
Mm-hmm. Would you say you do that like on a daily basis, or do you do it as and when things arise?
As and when things arise, and in the mornings in my meditations, I'll visit emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I like doing that. I like to see, just to visit within me, okay, this anxiety is coming up. What's that about? Or what do I feel low about? What's happening? And just spending 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be a long meditation. 5 minutes of quiet time, not trying to block anything out, not trying to silence my mind, just visiting, learning to sit with my feelings, and then scanning or saying, okay, what part of my life does this belong to? And what am I believing right now? Or what am I not giving myself permission to heal? And I give you an exercise on giving yourself permission to heal certain blockages. For example, I'll tell people to repeat to themselves, it's safe for me to feel vulnerable once in a while. And even using simple language like once in a while, it's
Yeah.
safe for me to feel vulnerable once in a while. That softens the resistance that we all have towards our own personal development and vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And that softening is the passageway to emotional release.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so
thanks,
give yourself
Ameet.
permission to be vulnerable, and just I encourage people, just give yourself permission.
Yeah, really important. So I think we're up time-wise, but I just wanted to say thank you. And do you want to let people know where they can find you? Because I'll provide the link to you and to your course also in the email that I send. But maybe you want to let people know where you can be found.
I'm in Kenya. Come and visit. I'd love to see
Go to Kenya.
um, the website's health.drameet.com. Take the course first, and then if you still need help, then book a session. This Skype session is available. That's not a problem. And do the exercises alongside the physical healing. So watch the exercises, start practicing those while you change your diet, while you look at different herbs and supplements. Do them both together, and good luck. Like, I really wish you well. I don't think anyone needs to suffer with anxiety, depression, intrusive thoughts. And I promise you, there's help out there. I healed from it. A lot of people are healing from it. There's a lot of naturopathic doctors around the world helping tons of people recover from anxiety and depression. So if you're watching this, use the method of healing the mind and the body holistically.
Yeah, and that's really important. And we covered that a lot in the summit and the interviews, the sense of hope that it can give you when we can see you've been through it and you've come out on the other side, and many other different people around the world are going through the same experience, because sometimes with that darkness there's a sense of there's a lack of hope or lack of faith that it'll ever get better.
Yeah, that's the painful part, not knowing if it's ever going to end.
Yeah.
Or if there's even a solution, or is it my fault? Is God doing this to me? Am I a bad person? All these intrusive thoughts come in, and it's hard to see the light out of these intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
And
well, I hope this interview provides a bit more light to people.
so too.
Thank you so much, Ameet, for joining us today.
Thanks, and thanks everyone for listening.